If you're the woman who built something quietly while everyone else underestimated you, if you've ever smiled at a family dinner while swallowing the truth, this story is for you. My name is Priya Rao Deshmukh. I'm 34, born and raised in Plano, Texas, daughter of 2 Indian immigrants who believed in 3 things: education, reputation, and keeping family matters inside the family. In that order. And in our house, there was one more unspoken rule. If you build something, you build it for the family, not for yourself. I didn't understand how heavy that rule was until the day my ex stole my entire business plan, word for word, and tried to launch it as his own. What he didn't know, I had already filed the trademark, and the cease and desist arrived before his launch party cake was even cut. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me take you back. Growing up, the expectation was clear. I would become something respectable: doctor, engineer, maybe a pharmacist if I was feeling rebellious. And then I would marry someone equally respectable, ideally Indian, ideally approved. Instead, I fell in love with software, not in a cute, I like apps way, in a, I stayed up until 3 a.m., building predictive models because they felt like puzzles way. Data science was freedom to me, patterns, truth in numbers, no politics, no traditions, or so I thought. I met Ethan Caldwell when I was 28 at a tech networking event in Dallas. He had that easy confidence, rolled up sleeves, expensive watch, southern charm that made older women melt and investors lean in. He told me I was brilliant. No one had ever used that word about me without attaching it to "for a girl" or "for someone so young." He listened when I talked about my idea, because I had one. A logistics optimization platform for small regional food distributors, something built specifically for the Texas-Oklahoma corridor. I'd grown up watching my uncles struggle with supply chain waste in his grocery stores. I knew the gaps. I knew the inefficiencies. I had spent 2 years quietly building prototypes on weekends while working my corporate data job. Ethan said we could build it together. And here's where family tradition crept in, like humidity before a storm. In my family, once a man is serious about you, you don't keep secrets. You don't act independent. You merge. My mother actually said, "If he will be your husband, Beta, what is yours will be his." I believed that. So I shared everything. The financial projections, the code architecture, the branding deck I stayed up designing, even the name, Kavya, named after my niece. Kavya was 6 the first time she appears in this story. Big brown eyes, always dragging a glittery backpack twice her size. She used to sit beside me during family gatherings, coloring while I worked on my laptop. "What are you building, Mussy?" she'd ask. "Something that helps stores not waste food." She nodded very seriously. "So less people go hungry?" "Yes." She beamed like I'd just handed her the moon. That name, her name, became the heart of my company. Kavya Analytics. Ethan loved it. Said it sounded exotic but marketable. I ignored how that phrasing made my stomach tighten. The betrayal didn't happen dramatically. It happened quietly. One Thursday evening, I walked into Ethan's apartment. We were practically living together, and saw my pitch deck open on his 32-inch monitor. Only it wasn't my logo anymore. It was renamed. Caldwell Supply Intelligence. My graphs. My projections. My wording. Even my typos. He didn't even look guilty. "Babe," he said, like I was overreacting before I'd spoken. I streamlined it. Investors respond better to a strong American brand. Strong American brand. I remember the hum of his refrigerator, the smell of the cedar candle he always lit, my own pulse in my ears. "You used my work," I said. "We talked about this. We're a team." "No," I whispered. "You removed me." He sighed like I was being emotional. "Priya, you're amazing at the back end, but founders need a certain presence." There it was, the authority moment, the dismissal. He had already pitched it to 2 angel investors, under his name. Have you ever had someone erase you so calmly that you almost question if you existed in the first place? Drop a comment if you know that exact kind of quiet theft. I left that night with my external hard drive and a numbness I can't describe. What I didn't tell him, 3 months earlier, after a small argument about equity splits, I'd filed the trademark for Kavya Analytics LLC, in my name. Alone. I didn't do it out of revenge. I did it because something in my gut told me to protect my work. That small, boring legal step would become everything. The next few years were not glamorous. There was no triumphant montage. Just me. A tiny subleased office in Richardson, fluorescent lighting that flickered, carpet that smelled faintly like stale coffee. I worked my corporate job 9 to 6, then Kavya from 7 p.m. to 2 a.m. every night. I coded. I cold-called distributors. I drove my Corolla across dusty highways to pitch small warehouse owners who looked at me like I was someone's intern. My family stopped asking about marriage after the breakup, but only because they were embarrassed. My mother once said, maybe if you had been less stubborn, translation, less protective of your own ideas. Meanwhile, Ethan launched Caldwell Supply Intelligence with a flashy website and LinkedIn announcements. He got press. Local tech blogs called him a visionary optimizing regional distribution. I read every article. He described my algorithm like he'd birthed it. I never commented, never reacted. Quiet building, invisible sacrifice. Year after year. Kavya, my niece, grew too. At 10, she came to my office for the first time. She wrinkled her nose at the old carpet, but sat proudly in my desk chair. Papa says you work too much, she said casually. Her father, my older brother, what do you think? I asked. She hesitated. He says girls shouldn't chase business like men, that it makes marriage hard. There it was again. Tradition, passed down like heirloom jewelry. I smiled. Do you think girls can build companies? She looked at my whiteboard filled with equations. Yes, she said softly, but I don't know if they're allowed. That sentence stayed with me for years. Have you ever heard a little girl repeat a limitation like it's a law of physics? Tell me you've felt that punch in the chest. By year 4, Kavya Analytics was profitable. Not viral, not flashy, profitable. We served 12 regional distributors across Texas and Oklahoma. Reduced waste by an average of 18%. Quiet impact. And then Ethan announced expansion. A rebrand. New name. Guess what he chose? Kavya Logistics. I am not even kidding. He had the audacity to use the name publicly now that it had traction in the regional market. He must have assumed I'd abandoned it. He scheduled a massive launch party at a downtown Dallas hotel. Investors, press, influencers, and then the third appearance. The breaking point. Kavya was 14. She came over one evening, shoulders tense. Mossy, she said. Papa wants me to intern this summer. That's great. At Ethan Caldwell's company. The air left my lungs. He says Ethan is successful and understands how business works. He says I should learn from him instead of experimenting. She wouldn't look at me. Do you want to? I asked carefully. She shrugged, but her eyes were glassy. I want to build things like you, but Papa says you never really made it. That was it. Not the press. Not the investors. Not even the theft. It was that sentence. You never really made it. If you've ever stayed silent for years, and then one small voice makes you realize what your silence is costing the next generation, you know exactly what happened inside me in that moment, don't you? That night, I called my attorney. The trademark for Kavya Analytics covered logistics software services in our region. Ethan had filed nothing under that name. We drafted a cease and desist, citing trademark infringement and unfair competition. We timed delivery for the morning of his launch event. Legal, precise, unarguable. Now let me take you into that room, because this is the part that still feels slow when I replay it. The Magnolia Ballroom at the Adolphus Hotel smells like polished wood and citrus cleaner. Chandeliers dripping crystal. Floor-to-ceiling windows spilling late afternoon gold across round tables dressed in white. Linen. There's a stage with a massive LED screen. Kavya Logistics. Reimagining regional distribution. My stomach twists, seeing my nieces. Name 12 feet tall. Ethan stands near the bar in a navy suit, laughing too loudly. Investors orbit him like satellites. I'm wearing a cream silk blouse and charcoal trousers. Nothing dramatic. Hair straight. Minimal makeup. Calm. My attorney, Melissa Grant, stands beside me holding a slim leather folder. At 4:12 p.m., as servers pass champagne flutes, a courier walks in. Not dramatic, not angry, just official. Delivery for Mr. Ethan Caldwell. Ethan signs without looking, still smiling. He opens the envelope casually. I watch the exact second his expression shifts. Brows pinch. Smile drops. Color drains. He reads the first line again. Melissa leans toward me and whispers, and there it lands. Ethan looks up, scanning the room. His eyes find me. It's almost cinematic. Except this is real life and my hands are ice cold. He strides over, paper shaking slightly. What is this? He hisses. A cease and desist, I say evenly. You're kidding. I'm not. Investors nearby pretend not to listen, but they're listening. You don't own that name, he says. I do, I reply. Trademark filed 4 years ago. Active. Enforced. Silence. He flips pages. This is petty. No, I say softly. This is legal. Melissa steps forward. Continued use constitutes willful infringement. We're prepared to seek damages. The LED screen behind him still glows with Kavya Logistics. Guests are starting to murmur. One investor, older man, gray hair, walks up. Problem? Ethan forces a laugh. Minor branding dispute. I meet the investor's eyes. There's no dispute. I own the mark. Documentation is attached. I hand him a copy. He reads. Slowly. The room feels warmer. Or maybe that's adrenaline. Ethan lowers his voice. Priya, we can work something out. We tried that 4 years ago. His jaw tightens. Across the room, I see something that nearly breaks me. Kavya, my niece, stands near the dessert table with my brother. She must have come to observe. Her eyes are wide, flicking between me and the giant screen and Ethan's pale face. She looks confused. Then she looks at me, and I hold her gaze. Not angry, not triumphant. Steady. The investor clears his throat. Ethan, if this is valid, we can't proceed today. Another chimes in. Brand risk alone, Ethan snaps. It's a technicality. It's federal registration. Melissa corrects calmly. The event planner rushes to the AV booth. The screen flickers. Kavya Logistics disappears. Blank white light floods the stage. It's almost poetic. The absence is louder than any speech. Guests start checking phones, whispering. A few quietly head toward the exit. No shouting. No scene. Just gravity shifting. Ethan turns to me one last time. You're ruining this. I tilt my head slightly. You ruined it when you put your name on my work. His shoulders sag, just slightly, as if the weight of consequences finally found him. I walk across the ballroom, heels soft against carpet, until I reach my niece. She looks up at me. Masi, what's happening? I kneel so we're eye level, despite the silk trousers and chandeliers and everything. I built something, I say gently, and I protected it. Her voice trembles. Even when no one believed you? Especially then. My brother approaches, face tight. This is unnecessary, Priya. I stand slowly. No, this is necessary. He glances at the blank screen. For once, he has nothing to say. The ballroom smells sharper now. Stress, spilled champagne, overheated lights. Melissa squeezes my arm. We're done here. As we walk out, the late Texas sun hits my face. Warm, blinding, real. Behind me, the party dissolves. No explosion, just truth. 2 months later, Ethan rebranded under a different name. Investors scaled back. Momentum lost. Kavya Analytics continued steadily. And my niece, she asked to intern with me instead. The first day, she walked into my office. We'd upgraded by then. Fresh paint, new carpet, and ran her fingers across the glass door where my logo was etched. Kavya Analytics. Her name. Did you ever want to quit? She asked. Every day. I said honestly. Why didn't you? I handed her the framed trademark certificate hanging behind my desk, because I learned that building something is one thing. Claiming it is another. She traced the embossed seal like it was sacred. That certificate is the final symbol in this story. Not flashy, not emotional, just paper. But it represents every night I worked alone, every family comment I swallowed, every article I read without reacting. Ownership? So if you're watching this at 1A1 M, wondering whether it's worth protecting what you're building, let me tell you something clearly. File the paperwork. Protect your name. Don't confuse love with access. And never shrink so much that the next little girl thinks shrinking is the rule. If this story resonated with you, subscribe to Her Untold Revenge. Share this with a woman who needs the reminder that quiet doesn't mean weak, and legal doesn't, and legal doesn't. Sometimes the most powerful revenge isn't loud, it's documented.